9 female weaknesses men must know. Stoic secrets revealed. What if I told you that the ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, had insights about human psychology that could revolutionize how you connect with the women in your life, not through manipulation or tricks, but through genuine understanding and wisdom that stood the test of 2,000 years. Today, we're diving deep into 9 profound insights about feminine psychology that most men completely miss. But here's the twist. We're going to explore these through the lens of Stoic philosophy, giving you practical wisdom that will transform not just your relationships, but how you show up as a man in the world. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because this channel is your gateway to becoming the kind of man who understands both ancient wisdom and modern psychology. Let's get started. Brothers, let me start with a story. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote in his Meditations, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." But what does this have to do with understanding women? Everything. You see, the Stoics understood something that modern men have forgotten. That true strength comes not from dominating or controlling others, but from understanding them so deeply that you can respond with wisdom, rather than react with emotion. We're going to explore 9 fundamental aspects of feminine psychology, not as weaknesses to exploit, but as windows into the human experience that will make you a better partner, friend, and man. Now, before anyone gets triggered in the comments, let me be crystal clear. We're talking about general patterns, observed across cultures and centuries. Every individual is unique, and these insights should be applied with wisdom and respect, not as rigid rules. The Stoics taught us that wisdom comes from understanding the nature of things as they truly are, not as we wish they were. So let's dive in with that spirit of genuine curiosity and respect. Point 1, emotional processing. Key 1, women often process emotions differently than men. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But here's what most men miss. The path to that mental power often looks different for women. Let me tell you about Sarah and Mike. Mike comes home from work stressed, and he wants to decompress alone. Sarah comes home equally stressed, but she wants to talk through her day. Mike thinks Sarah is being too emotional. Sarah thinks Mike is being cold and distant. Sound familiar? Here's the Stoic insight. Neither approach is wrong. They're just different paths to the same destination: inner peace and emotional balance. Research shows that women, on average, have a larger anterior cingulate, cortex, the brain region, associated with emotional processing and empathy. This isn't a weakness, it's a different kind of strength. The Stoic approach isn't to judge this difference, but to understand it. Epictetus taught us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Well, part of how you react depends on understanding the person you're reacting to. So here's your Stoic strategy. When a woman in your life wants to discuss her emotions, don't immediately try to fix or minimize them. Instead, practice what Seneca called active listening. Be present, ask questions, and understand that for many women, talking through emotions is the solution. This doesn't mean you become a doormat or an emotional dumping ground. It means you respond with wisdom rather than frustration. Drop a comment below. Have you ever misunderstood someone's emotional processing style? How did you handle it? Point 2, security and stability. Key 2, the deep need for security and stability. The Stoics understood that humans are fundamentally social creatures. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We were born to work together." But there's a deeper layer here that many men miss. Throughout history, women have often been in more vulnerable positions, physically, economically, socially. This isn't ancient history. It's still true in many ways today. The Stoic response isn't to dismiss this reality, but to understand how it shapes psychology and behavior. I remember talking to a successful businesswoman who told me, "I can run a company, negotiate million-dollar deals, and lead teams of hundreds. But when I'm dating, I still notice if a guy shows up late consistently, or if he's financially irresponsible, or if he can't make and keep commitments. This isn't about being high maintenance or gold digging. It's about a fundamental human need for security that, for many women, runs deeper than it does for men. Seneca taught us that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. In other words, if you want to build something new like a relationship, you need to understand what foundation you're building on. For many women, that foundation is security. Not just financial security, but emotional security, physical security, and the security of knowing you're with someone who keeps their word. Here's how to apply this stoically. Be consistent in your actions and words. Follow through on commitments, even small ones. Communicate your intentions clearly. Understand that building trust takes time. This isn't about walking on eggshells or proving your worth. It's about being the kind of man whose character speaks for itself. Now, does this mean every woman needs to be taken care of? Absolutely not. Many women are financially independent and emotionally strong, but understanding this deep-rooted need for security helps you understand why certain behaviors or inconsistencies might trigger stronger reactions than you expect. Point 3. Communication styles. Key 3. Indirect communication patterns. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." But what if I told you that what you're listening for might be just as important as how much you listen? Here's a scenario that's happened to literally every man watching this. She says, "I'm fine," but clearly she's not fine. "You ask what's wrong?" She says, "Nothing," but something is obviously wrong. You feel frustrated, maybe even manipulated. Sound familiar? The Stoics taught us to focus on what we can control. You can't control how someone else communicates, but you can control how you interpret and respond to that communication. Many women use what psychologists call indirect communication, conveying messages through context, tone, and implication rather than direct statements. This isn't manipulation. It's often a learned communication style that serves specific social functions. In many cultures, women are socialized to be more collaborative and less confrontational in their communication. Saying "I'm fine" might actually mean "I'm hurt, but I want to see if you care enough to pursue this conversation." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whenever you want to cheer yourself, consider the good qualities of your companions. Instead of getting frustrated with indirect communication, try to understand the good intention behind it." Here's your Stoic communication strategy. Listen to what's not being said. Pay attention to body language and tone. Ask gentle, open-ended questions. Don't take indirect communication personally. Instead of, "You said you were fine, so I assumed everything was okay." Try, "I sense something might be bothering you. Would you like to talk about it?" This isn't about becoming a mind reader. It's about becoming a better communicator who understands that people express themselves differently. Comment below. What's the most confusing indirect communication you've ever received? How did you handle it? Point 4. Social connection and validation. Key 4. The power of social connection and validation. The Stoics understood that humans are inherently social beings. But here's what many men miss. The depth and complexity of social connection often differs between genders. Picture this. You're at a party with your girlfriend. She spends 20 minutes talking to someone she just met about their mutual friend's cousin's wedding. You're thinking, why does she care about someone she doesn't even know? Meanwhile, she's building social connections, gathering information, and strengthening her social network. To her, this isn't small talk. It's social intelligence in action. Research shows that women, on average, have larger social networks and maintain more intimate friendships than men. This isn't because women are more social. It's because social connection often serves different functions for women than it does for men. Throughout history, women's survival often depended on their ability to build and maintain social alliances. This isn't ancient history. It's still evolutionarily and socially relevant today. Seneca wrote, "No man can live happily who regards himself alone." The Stoics understood that we're all interconnected. For many women, this interconnectedness isn't just philosophical. It's practical and emotional. Mistake 1. Dismissing her friendships as drama. Mistake 2. Not understanding why she needs to check in with friends. Mistake 3. Feeling threatened by her social connections. Instead of seeing her social needs as weakness or neediness, see them as a different kind of strength. Marcus Aurelius valued his social connections and understood that good relationships require investment. 1. Show genuine interest in her friendships. 2. Remember names and details about people in her life. 3. Support her social activities rather than competing with them. 4. Understand that validation from friends isn't a threat to your relationship. When she wants to talk about her friends' relationship problems, don't immediately say, "Why is that your business?" Instead, understand that processing social situations with trusted people is how many women maintain their emotional and social well-being. This isn't about men versus women. It's about understanding that different people have different social needs. The Stoic approach is to accept and work with these differences rather than fighting against them. Point 5. Intuition and emotional intelligence. Key 5. The power of intuition and emotional intelligence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." But what if I told you that thinking isn't always logical? Linear thought? Here's a scenario every man has experienced. You're about to make a decision, maybe about a friend, a job, or an investment. You've done your research, run the numbers, and everything looks good on paper. But she says, "I have a bad feeling about this." Your first instinct might be to dismiss this as just emotion, or not logical, but what if that's a massive mistake? Research shows that what we call intuition is often the brain's ability to process vast amounts of subtle information below the conscious level. Women, on average, score higher on emotional intelligence tests and are often better at reading micro-expressions, body language, and social cues. The Stoics valued different types of wisdom. Epictetus distinguished between what he called book learning and experiential wisdom. Intuition often falls into that second category. It's pattern recognition, based on experience, not just logical analysis. She doesn't trust someone you're about to do business with. She senses something is off about a situation. She has a gut feeling about a decision. She picks up on social dynamics you might miss. Instead of dismissing intuitive insights, the Stoic approach is to gather all available information, including emotional and intuitive data, before making decisions. Seneca wrote, "The willing destiny guides them. The unwilling destiny drags them." Sometimes, that guidance comes through intuitive channels. Here's how to honor intuitive intelligence. 1. Ask, "What are you sensing?" instead of, "Why do you feel that way?" 2. Investigate her concerns rather than dismissing them. 3. Combine logical analysis with intuitive insights. 4. Recognize that different people process information differently. Story: a friend of mine ignored his wife's intuitive concerns about a business partner. Everything looked good on paper, but she sensed something was wrong. 6 months later, they discovered the partner had been embezzling money. Her intuition had picked up on subtle behavioral cues that his logical analysis had missed. This doesn't mean abandoning logic or critical thinking. It means understanding that the best decisions often combine multiple types of intelligence: logical, emotional, and intuitive. Share in the comments. Have you ever experienced someone's intuition being right when logic suggested otherwise? Point 6. Attention to detail. Key 6. The gift of attention to detail. Epictetus taught us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. But what if I told you that what happens to you is often noticed first by the women in your life? Have you ever had this experience? You walk into a room and everything seems normal to you, but she immediately notices that something has been moved, or that someone seems upset, or that there's a subtle tension in the air that you completely missed. This isn't about being nitpicky or obsessive. It's about a different kind of awareness that can be incredibly valuable. Throughout history, attention to detail has been crucial for survival. Noticing changes in children's behavior, detecting threats in the environment, managing complex social dynamics. This skill has been particularly important for women in their traditional roles. In today's world, this attention to detail translates to noticing changes in people's moods or behavior, remembering important dates and details, maintaining organized systems and environments, detecting problems before they become crises. Marcus Aurelius was famous for his attention to detail in both his personal reflections and his leadership. He understood that small things matter because they're often indicators of larger patterns. Common mistakes: dismissing her observations as overthinking, not appreciating the value of detailed awareness, assuming that if you don't notice something, it's not important, getting defensive when she points out details you missed. Instead of seeing attention to detail as criticism or nagging, see it as valuable information. The Stoics taught us to gather all available data before making decisions. 1. Thank her for pointing out details you missed. 2. Ask what she's noticing that you might have overlooked. 3. Combine her detailed awareness with your broader perspective. 4. Learn to appreciate different types of observation skills. Story: a couple I know was house hunting. He focused on the big picture: location, price, square footage. She noticed that the kitchen faucet dripped. There were water stains on the basement ceiling, and the previous owners had painted over what looked like mold in the bathroom. Her attention to detail saved them from buying a house with serious hidden problems. This isn't about men being less observant. It's about different types of awareness. The Stoic approach is to value and utilize all types of intelligence and observation. And this leads us perfectly to our next point. Point 7. Future orientation and planning. Key 7. Future orientation and long-term planning. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." But what if I told you that women often see those future beginnings more clearly than men do? You're dating someone and things are going well. You're happy living in the moment, but she's already thinking about where this relationship is going, whether your life goals align, and how current decisions might affect your future together. To you, this might feel like pressure or rushing things, but to her, it's responsible planning. Women face biological time constraints that men don't. The reality of fertility, pregnancy, and child rearing means that long-term planning isn't just preferred. It's often necessary. But future orientation goes beyond biological considerations. Research shows that women, on average, are more likely to save money for long-term goals, consider the long-term consequences of decisions, plan for contingencies and potential problems, think about how current choices affect future options. Marcus Aurelius constantly reflected on the future implications of present actions. He understood that wise men plan ahead while staying present in the moment. Men often interpret future-oriented thinking as being controlling or demanding, not living in the moment, being anxious or worried, putting pressure on the relationship. What's actually happening is strategic thinking. She's not trying to control you. She's trying to make informed decisions about her own life and future. The Stoics taught us to prepare for the future while accepting what we cannot control. This is exactly what future-oriented thinking accomplishes. Appreciate her planning abilities rather than feeling pressured. Share your own future thoughts and goals. Make decisions together about timeline and direction. Understand that planning discussions aren't ultimatums. Story: a friend of mine thought his girlfriend was being pushy when she brought up moving in together after 8 months of dating. He interpreted it as pressure, but when they talked more deeply, he realized she was simply trying to plan her lease renewal and needed to know if they were serious enough to consider living together. Her future orientation was actually practical planning, not emotional pressure. This doesn't mean you should let anyone else control your timeline or decisions. It means understanding that good planning benefits everyone and that future-oriented thinking is a valuable skill, not a character flaw. Comment below. How do you balance living in the moment with planning for the future in your relationships? Point 8. Appreciation and recognition. Key 8. The deep need for appreciation and recognition. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest. But what if I told you that sometimes being that steady rock isn't enough? Here's something that confuses many men. You work hard, you provide, you solve problems, you're reliable and consistent, but she says she doesn't feel appreciated or recognized. You think, but I do everything for her." The disconnect isn't about what you do, it's about how you express recognition for what she does. Women often perform what sociologists call invisible labor, the mental and emotional work of managing relationships, households, and social connections. This includes remembering important dates and details, managing social calendars and relationships, emotional support and processing, organizing and maintaining systems. Seneca taught us that gratitude is not only the greatest virtue but the parent of all others. The Stoics understood that recognition and appreciation are fundamental human needs. When someone's efforts go unnoticed, it's not just about ego, it's about feeling valued and seen. This is especially important for work that's often invisible or taken for granted. Assuming that love equals appreciation, only recognizing big gestures, not daily efforts, expecting appreciation while not giving it, thinking that providing financially equals showing appreciation. Marcus Aurelius regularly practiced gratitude and recognition. He understood that acknowledging others' contributions strengthens relationships and builds character. 1. Notice and verbally acknowledge daily efforts. 2. Thank her for specific things, not just general appreciation. 3. Recognize emotional and mental labor, not just physical tasks. 4. Show appreciation through actions, not just words. Instead of, "Thanks for everything you do." Try, "I noticed you remembered my sister's birthday and picked out a thoughtful gift. That means a lot to me and to her." Instead of taking dinner for granted, try, "This meal is delicious. I appreciate you taking the time to make something special." This isn't about constant praise or validation. It's about creating a culture of recognition where everyone's contributions are seen and valued. This principle applies to all relationships, friendships, family, work relationships. The Stoics understood that recognizing others' contributions is a mark of wisdom and character. And this brings us to our final and perhaps most important point. Point 9. Emotional safety and vulnerability. Key 9. The foundation of emotional safety and vulnerability. Epictetus taught us, wealth consists in not having great possessions, but in having few wants. But what if I told you that the greatest wealth in any relationship is emotional safety? At the core of all these insights is one fundamental truth: the deep human need for emotional safety. This isn't weakness. It's the foundation of all meaningful connection. Emotional safety means being able to express feelings without judgment, knowing that vulnerability won't be used against you, trusting that conflicts will be handled with respect, feeling secure enough to be your authentic self. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about creating environments where people could flourish. He understood that true leadership and true love create safety for others to be their best selves. All the other insights we've discussed, emotional processing, need for security, communication styles, social connection, intuition, attention to detail, future planning, and appreciation, all of these stem from and contribute to emotional safety. Listen without immediately trying to fix or judge. Keep confidences and private information private. Fight fair. Attack problems, not character. Validate feelings even when you don't agree with actions. Be consistent in your emotional responses. The Stoics taught us that true strength comes from self-mastery, not dominance over others. Creating emotional safety requires the highest form of self-mastery, the ability to manage your own emotions so that others feel safe to express theirs. Understanding women or anyone isn't about finding weaknesses to exploit. It's about recognizing the beautiful complexity of human psychology and responding with wisdom. compassion, and strength. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, wrote to be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. He understood that true power comes from creating environments where others can flourish. That's the secret that ancient Stoics knew and modern men often forget. Understanding isn't about control. It's about connection. The Stoic path forward. Brothers, we've covered a lot of ground today. 9 profound insights that can transform how you understand and connect with the women in your life. But remember, this isn't about manipulation or control. It's about becoming the kind of man who responds with wisdom rather than reacting with confusion or frustration. The Stoics taught us that we cannot control others, but we can control our responses. Understanding these aspects of feminine psychology isn't about changing women. It's about changing how we show up in relationships. 1. Choose one insight that resonated most with you. 2. Practice applying it in your daily interactions. 3. Observe the results with curiosity, not judgment. 4. Share your experiences in the comments below. Speaking of comments, I read every single one. Share your thoughts, your experiences, and your questions. This community of men supporting each other and becoming better is what makes this channel special. If this content added value to your life, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're building something special here. A place where ancient wisdom meets modern psychology to help you become the man you're meant to be. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said. Be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest. Be that rock, not unmovable and cold, but steady, strong, and wise. The kind of man who understands that true strength comes from lifting others up, not putting them down. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll explore more ancient wisdom from modern men. Until then, stay strong, stay wise, and remember, the best version of yourself is always within reach. Peace, brothers.